Hey everyone, welcome to the Results Driven Student Spotlight. If you guys don't know anything about Results Driven, here at Results Driven, we're focused on creating a predictable experience through accountability with an industry leading process to produce game changing leaders and create results. If you are interested in any information about our programs, then go ahead and DM me at Josh High Official on Instagram or at Josh High on Facebook. So today I'm excited to bring to you guys Jeff Trimble, one of our small group students. I'm really excited to talk about some of the things that he's changed in his business here in the last few months and talk about some of the results that he's had. But without further ado, I'd like to get Jeff into the spotlight here. Jeff, what's going on, man?
What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, not too much. First and foremost, man, thanks for taking some time, man. And I love hopping on these calls because I think you've learned a lot of lessons here in the last few months, and you've made some game-changing decisions on, implementing certain processes and systems and things like that. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that, could benefit from some of the lessons that you had learned. And that's why we like to do this, is get you on and just kind of talk about that and see if we could, maybe have a golden nugget for someone that could have a huge impact. So talk to me, man. I know you've been in the group now for, is it almost 3 months already? Has it been that long?
It's been, so I joined in August, so it's been 5 months.
Holy smokes, man.
Yeah,
Time
man.
is flying. Time is
Yeah,
flying.
it is.
Well, talk to me here, man. When you first started in the group, like, where were you at? What were some of the things you did right away?
Yeah. Well, where I was at was frustrated when I first joined. Okay, I
Yeah.
remember you and I actually talked on the phone for the 2 day. And you were kind of telling me about the things that I would learn. And I was like, man, this market is shifting. And I was doing everything that I knew to do. And I wasn't getting any of the success that I wanted to get from it. So, took a bet on it, went ahead and came to the 2 day. And it was a few things that a lot of the 2 day is amazing because you get so much information, but applying the information is the main thing, right? And so what I didn't want to do is get an analysis paralysis and be trying to implement everything to the point of where I don't implement anything.
Mhm.
So a couple of things that I knew that I wanted to implement immediately. You guys were really big on making sure that you met with your sales team daily. And I knew I wasn't doing that. I probably was meeting with my folks maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and it was not quality meeting, because I was so in the weeds in what I was doing. So that was one thing. And then the sales process. Those were two immediate things that we implemented.
Okay. So meeting with your team daily. So, what was the thought process? What led you to only meeting with your team beforehand, before coming out to the 2 day? Why was it only 2 to 3 days a week?
Yeah, because I was tired.
Okay.
If I wasn't locking up deals, we weren't making money.
Yeah.
So I only had so much bandwidth, and
Mhm.
the quality of the meetings that I probably was able to have was very below what I would expect somebody to be training me at, if I
Yeah.
really wanted to be successful. So I realized that I was kind of working against myself, man, because I'm locking up all these deals, but I have a team that is capable. They just need the tools to be able to, be successful.
Yeah. So I think I heard something there, and I really want to emphasize this. You were locking up all the deals, but you had hired a team to do that, but you were still the one doing it. And so you
Yeah,
were paying this team, they weren't performing. And therefore, not only are you spending time training and managing them and paying them for you doing that, but you are also the one carrying the workload, closing all of the deals and generating all the revenue for the business. That's a
that's right.
tired place to be, man. That's
Yes,
crazy. So
yes.
when you talked about there, the training, you mentioned that because you were so tired, you didn't feel as if you were really delivering the training. So what was the mindset shift, or what changed between, because when you left here, man, like, you were still tired. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. You were still
yeah.
tired, but you made the decision and said, hey, listen, I know that I have to meet with my team daily and I have to train them. Was it more of just like having a framework on knowing how to train people that really moved the needle there, or kind of talk through that thought process there?
So, and I had said it in our group, and somebody else said it. I just shamelessly stole it from them. You guys, y'all run a successful business. Like y'all are run a very successful wholesale business. You guys have literally like pulled back the hood and gave us everything that you all do. Everything from documents, processes, phone calls, trainings, like everything you can think of, you guys have provided it with us. It's like a franchise, legitimately. You guys have given us a franchise. That's all I needed.
And we're just not charging the royalty, right?
Yeah, that's it. I'm not charging for no royalty. Appreciate you for that, by the way.
Yeah.
But
well, good deal, man.
That's all I needed, man. I needed to know. I had got us to a certain point, but I didn't know how to get us to the next point.
Yeah. I mean, it almost seems as if like you were at this point where you understood general concepts. Like a lot of people, even on YouTube, like people talk about these general concepts, but it's like, okay, cool. I get that. I understand. I got to train my team, but I want to know exactly how I do that. So just having the framework, having the content to go and do that is really what changed the game for you. And that's crazy. Now I know one thing that really shifted too. So, and maybe this training helped a lot with that, but you were tired, you were doing all the deal flow. But at one point it shifted, and now all of a sudden your acquisitions team, they started to pick up the slack. They are the ones that are closing the deals now. And they're doing what you hired them to do, which is awesome. And I'm sure you probably feel a little bit of relief.
A little bit.
All right, we got it. We got this. Yeah. So talk through, I'm sure you had a lot of accountable conversations, but what was that process like when you had a team and maybe people weren't performing? Have you ever led people before hiring a team?
Yeah. Okay. That's my background actually. So before doing this full time, I was a project manager for Walmart supply chain. I had a whole a manager, supervisors, and associates, under me, and that's kind of been my life. For what I can remember, I've always kind of found myself in leadership positions. So that's really my passion. That's what I enjoy doing. But in terms of kind of why I think we were there, I tell you. So this time last year, actually, I had made a decision that I wanted to promote somebody. I was like, man, I need some help with acquisitions. Now, keep in mind, naturally, acquisitions is easy for me. I enjoy connecting and speaking with people. And the individual that I promoted, I tried my best to train him that way. And it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't. He did good for a little bit, but then it started to taper off to the point of where we ended up having to separate ways in April. That kind of scarred my mindset because I'm like, okay, that's the reason why I need to do this. Like if nobody's going to do this for my business, like I'm doing it for my business. So it kind of jaded me. And I promoted another individual, which is Lorenzo. And I think Lorenzo's in here, by the way, but he was one of my acquisitions or is one of my closers. And I promoted him. But the way I promoted him is I shielded him from a lot of opportunity because, to be honest, I didn't trust my process. And I didn't trust that he was going to be able to do what I needed him to do. And that was completely my fault. Yeah. So he started as a closer in April. Man, I mean, it was a rough all the way up until about August. I can probably count on one hand how many deals Lorenzo was able to close out. And it wasn't because he didn't have the skill set. It was because he wasn't being set up to be successful.
Right. So you started off and you were kind of shadow banning him.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Yeah. You didn't want him to really get the opportunities because you were afraid he was going to mess it up. But at what point did your confidence shift? You went from not being confident at all and really like holding back opportunities to a point where, hey, let's go all in. Let's give them everything we got. What was that shift for you?
Man, so after we left the 2-day and I had y'all scripts in your systems, I said, man, let's give this a try. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's give this thing a try. It's different. It seems like it will work, seems scalable. So I immediately came back to my team and I told them, I said, hey, listen, this is a non-negotiable. We're going to try this out. I need everybody in, not 100%. I need 120% from everybody. Yeah. And man, they did it. They were 120% in, and we spent hours upon hours role playing, going through calls. And I started, it clicked for me one day. I was doing a role play with Lorenzo. I'm like, man, this dude is good. Like, if I had a house, I'll sell it to him, in that moment, I was like, he's ready. Like, he's ready to do this. And I had a conversation with him. I can't remember the date, but I told him, I said, Lorenzo, man, all these leads, they're yours. Let's go. And he was really nervous about it. But I mean, I told you in that month span, from April until August, he probably closed maybe 4 or 5 deals. I mean, the guy closed, he's had about, if I had to guess, probably at least 12 to 13 deals that has closed since maybe mid-September. I mean, not closed, at least that he's locked up since maybe mid-September, early October.
So
In
that's like
half the amount of
one,
time, double the
that's like
country.
1 to 2 deals a week, right?
Yes.
Yeah. From a guy who did 4 to 5 in more than a quarter.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. Man, how does that make you feel?
Man, for me, it makes me happy for him.
Yeah.
It makes me happy for him because I knew he could do it, but I didn't want to let him do it because I didn't want him to fail and I didn't want to have to go through what I went through earlier this year. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he is able to close out these deals, I mean, the guy was on the phone. This is how I know I trust Lorenzo. We had a lot here in the Dallas area. And it was in a really nice area here in Dallas. The woman wanted 1.2 million for the lot. I was like, yeah, get at the Lorenzo. He got it. This guy's negotiating $1.2 million contracts, and he's located in the Philippines. Woo! I mean, the guy, he's doing this thing. So I am happy for him. And what this the commission, we were talking this morning about the commission he's going to be paid out next month. It's crazy, man. Just crazy.
That is nuts, man. So I didn't realize Lorenzo was overseas, man. Like, so one, like the fact that he's doing 5 to 6 deals a month consistently is insane. Yeah. Especially for someone who's overseas like that. That's phenomenal. So Lorenzo, if you're on here, man, congrats. Keep up the good work, man. I love hearing the success. So from a business standpoint, you know, so you came in, you talked about the daily trainings, you talked about really equipping your team. That's what it sounds like was one of the most important things is by equipping your team and having an SOP, having these processes that where like you understand why you're saying things. So, and because you understand the psychology, you understand the why behind it, you now feel comfortable going and training it because you can explain why we're doing what we're doing. So you know what you know and you know what you need to do. So you go and you act on that. And then I think that's one thing that holds a lot of people back, really, from not just building teams, but even like they built, you know, they get 1 or 2 people on the team and then it comes slapping back. It's almost like the rubber band effect where they stretch the rubber band, they stretch their comfort zone a little bit, they hire a couple people, but they don't really have the systems, the processes. And when I say systems and processes, I'm saying like there's no true understanding of, you know, why are we doing what we're doing? Yeah. Has this been thought out? Again, it's one thing for me to say, hey, Jeff, go send text messages, right? But like, what's the thought process behind the rhythm and the copy that's written in those text messages? That's right. And same thing for our sales conversations. And when you understand the why, you understand the rhythm, you understand all of these things, it's a lot easier for you to get your team's buy-in, right? Because now you go to them and you say, hey, listen, we're going to go do this. And here's exactly why we're going to do it. And they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And they understand the goal. They understand what we're trying to accomplish with this conversation, with this task, whatever it is. And that's really what helps move the needle. And that's really cool that you guys have been able to do that. I'm trying to think of the best way to ask this. What kind of advice would you have for someone, you know, thinking of where you were, you shared with us that you were closing all the deals. You hired a team. You were really frustrated. You were tired. You were literally wearing all the hats. You were wearing all the hats and then some because you hired people to take on responsibilities, but you didn't trust them. And in fact, you were really scared to even let go of the vine. What advice would you have for someone who's stuck in that moment right now, or even someone who's even a step before that, where there's like thinking about hiring, but they're a little hesitant because they don't know what they don't know? What advice would you have for those people?
Man, that's a really good question, Josh. And I have a bunch of responses that come to mind, but the main thing that I would say is you got to really know why you're doing this. Okay. I had a good paying job. I was comfortable. I was good on my 9 to 5. The reason why I quit my 9 to 5 is because I wanted freedom. in multiple aspects. I wanted freedom. When I want to go travel, I don't want to have to ask anybody off. I want to go work out at 10 o'clock and not have to wake up at 4 a.m, to go. Like, there are certain things that, as to why I decided to do this, when your actions don't match what your goal was, you gotta go back and rethink it.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna start to get diminishing returns. I mean, that's the reason why I think a lot of us entrepreneurs have so many mental struggles, because we are putting ourselves in situations and we're getting the exact opposite, and we're just continuously going because we're machines and we're hurting our mental, So I had to really check myself and say, man, this isn't why I did this. This isn't it.
Yep.
And my whole team is virtual, all of them. And they're not normal virtual people. Like, a lot of people say that virtual people have a certain capacity. My folks are bought in, they're hard workers, and they have the capacity to do whatever it is that I'm asking from them, as long as I set clear expectation. If I have that, I would be an idiot not to use that. And I had to tell myself that. So, I empowered Lorenzo. And when it got to the point of where November the 9th was the last date that I made an offer. I got a contract. I made an offer that day. That was the last date that I've had to lock up a contract. We've probably had at least 8 to 9 contracts since then. None of them have been sourced by myself. My closer it was another closer that I just promoted. She had been with me a year last month. Promoted her from a follow-up specialist. She got her first deal yesterday. Like, these deals, I think the most difficult part, Josh, in this business is scaling from a single person operation to your first hire. Because you got to be able to replicate what you were able to do and continuously do that and find the right people. And that was where I was at, and I'm still there right now. And I think that's the most difficult part.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking about, when you go and make your first hire, so
Yeah.
you have to go train them, you have to manage them, you have to hold them accountable. And that's a full-time job in and of itself. Not to mention, you still have to fill the roles that you were filling before.
Yes.
And not only that, it's not like you're just filling 2 roles. No, you're the marketing person, you're the admin, you're the sales rep, you're the TC, you're the dispo, you're the project manager. And yeah, you may have hired an acquisition rep, but you got to go fill all these other roles. Is there a cheat code? What is it that you were able to do, man? Cause you got a nice team now and they're producing. Yeah. So what's the cheat code, man? What'd you do? Like, how did you figure this out?
Every time I've hired a person, Josh, I tell them this, and I mean this. When I hire a person, I tell them I am completely vested in making you the absolute best person, not the best closer, not the best follow-up specialist, not the best cold caller, not the best admin, your best person. I am vested in that. Sometimes that's going to feel good. Other times it's not going to feel good. I just need you to trust me and be ready for the journey. And based off of how a person responds to that is going to determine to me whether or not that's a good fit for me. Because I'm looking for a certain, I like dogs. I like dogs, Josh. I only keep dogs around me, man. I don't like wimps.
We don't want any cats around here.
We don't need no cats. Keep the cats, man. I need dogs around me. And that's what I have. And so a lot of training, man. Lorenzo, I always joke with him. So in the Philippines, when I first hired him, I hired him in June or July of 2020, 2021. And when I hired him, he was like like Tinder or like Match.com, something like that. He was like a matcher for like a company like that in the Philippines. And so I always joke with him about he was kind of in sales before he got in sales.
Yeah.
My other thing, Josh, is that I don't like to hire people that has experience in this industry.
I agree.
Because I think they come over as spoiled goods. I like to get a person that has a good foundation and I can build them up from scratch. Those have been some really good things for me in my hires.
Yeah. So I see Steven's actually on here. I know you work with Steven really closely here. Steven's
That's
one of
my
our
guy.
coaches. Yeah. So talk to me about your experience working with him.
Steven has been amazing. Well, he actually kind of grabbed me at the 2 day. I didn't even know that you guys had a small group. And he was like, just asking me my goals and everything. He was like, hey, man, we got this 2 day program, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Start, trying to close me, Steven. I don't appreciate you trying to close me, man. I'm not a seller, Steven. No, I'm just kidding. But, he had a really good conversation with me. And I was like, man, it makes sense. It makes sense because he was like, I bet you're overwhelmed. I'm like, yeah, I am. And so, he told me he asked me, what did I want? What was I trying to achieve? And he told me that he would be vested in helping me achieve that goal. And so from that, I made the commitment, joined the 2 day, and me and Steven talk all the time. Whenever I got a question, I'm shooting him a text. We drop voice notes consistently. We meet bi-weekly. He knows my team by name. Like Lorenzo, nobody on my team, well, now we do, but nobody on my team used to call Lorenzo Zoe. He gave him that nickname. Like that's
Oh
like yeah.
yeah.
I mean, he is bought into the success of every one of the folks on my team.
Yeah.
And he's become more of a family than a coach. And
Yeah.
that when you transition to that, it's a level of trust that just goes way beyond the value of the program.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. Steven is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the kind words. There's actually a question here in the comments. Someone's asking if you guys, are you nationwide or do you go deep in like one or a few markets?
Yeah, that's Katie. What's going on, Katie? She's a beast, by the way. I don't know if you know Katie, but she is a beast with the dispo. We used to be nationwide. But another, I know we didn't talk about this and the market shift and everything. One of the things we did, man, we had to dial it back because we were everywhere. We were trying out multiple markets. We was even up there in Columbus with y'all. Y'all taking up, trying to get some deals for you guys, and it just wasn't working because we were just at that point throwing spaghetti at the wall. So we came back and we dialed into the markets that we had done deals in. And those markets, I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas. That's one of our bread and butter markets. I live in Dallas. That's a great market for us. Memphis, Tennessee is 2 hours away. We've done deals there. And then the Birmingham, Montgomery market in Alabama. Those were all markets where we've done volume. So we've focused all of our efforts into those markets.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, man, that's it's interesting that that got brought up. I see a lot of people right now, as things have shifted, people are struggling who are going nationwide. They struggle with understanding the buying criteria, like with interest rates going up, market shifting, buyers are getting scared. They're changing their criteria almost every week at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping up with how our buyers are making their buying decisions. It's changing so fast. If you're in a large number of markets and you have a 5 to 10 person team, you just don't have the capacity. You don't have the manpower to stay on top of those shifts. So it sounds like that move helped a lot.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
It did because what we started to do, and this is one thing that Steven had told me when we were talking about what he's kind of done since I've been in the program. He was like, hey man, you got to go back to your buyers and you got to press them for information because of what you just said, Josh. I just had one of my buyers send me a new buy box this week, and they just sent me a new one last week. Like they're crossing out zip codes. They're crossing out, it's just crazy. It's changing by the day. So you gotta be able to go back and see who has your money and how are they looking to spend it and be able to target that. We had a deal that closed today in Memphis. It's one of Lorenzo's deals. And that deal is so much about that deal that I did differently than I would have done maybe 6 or 7 months ago. And it has a lot to do with what I've kind of learned. So one of those things is you don't have to take the first offer. We get this mindset that if a person sends us an offer, oh man, I gotta jump on it or they're gonna change their mind. Man, I worked to get this deal, Josh. So
hey, you got the golden egg, man.
That's it. So if it's a deal, you still want the deal in 72 hours a week. I just need to tell you that. I need to let you know, hey man, I appreciate that. That's not gonna get it. You know, we got a lot of interest. Here's the date, and we will follow up with you on that. And so with this particular deal, I can't remember what we locked it up at, but my first offer was from a high volume buyer that I actually work with in Memphis, Little Rock, and Dallas. They're a hedge fund. Okay. And it would have been a $3,000 wholesale fee. 6 months ago, I would have took it. And the reason why I would have took it is because I was in the grind. I just was like, man, let me get that revenue. Let me go after the next thing. I said, man, based off of the comps, I know for a fact that we should be able to get at least 10K. Mm-hmm. We had started building some more relationships with Memphis buyers. We use Investor Lift. We went into the guide mode for the property. We started having conversations and everything. We had this guy that reached out to us. We only were trying to make a $10,000 wholesale fee, but we said we were taking highest and best. This guy submitted a $12,500 offer, sight unseen, non-contingent. Wow. And so you're talking about what, like $8,500 or something extra just by waiting 2 or 3 more days.
Well, 4 times as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just by waiting a few days. Yeah. Yeah. Man, so you know what's interesting? You know what, hearing that and what you just described was confidence. And maybe this is something that you didn't have before. And this is like, this goes for everyone. You know, when you start off in your entrepreneurial journey, you're just kind of reacting. You're not being strategic. You know, you react to things versus being proactive. But when you really dial this in and you start to implement these systems and processes that we've been talking about on this call the whole time, when you implement these things and you're really measuring stuff, this is where you start to see the story that's told. When you see the story told, now all of a sudden you have more confidence because it's all backed by data. You know, when you're making decisions and you're like, I feel like this is the right decision, that's where we get stuck in analysis paralysis. And you mentioned you were stuck in analysis paralysis, but now that we've shifted, we understand why we're doing what we're doing. We're measuring all of our results. And now that we actually have data, there's a story that's told, I can be confident. Not only that, but even in your underwriting too, like you just said, I knew for a fact I could get more. I knew for a fact because of the underwriting process that we've implemented and how we're analyzing the data from running comps and all of those things. And now we're more confident in our repair estimate, you know, that we came up with over the phone. All of these things add up, which ultimately allowed you to 4x what you would have made, you know, on a decision. Like you made a confident decision in the moment because you were confident in your process. You were confident in the data.
Yes. And a lot of that, Josh, going back to you guys' sales process, what we were doing, and this was the model that I scaled my first closer hire back this time last year, was a 1-call close. Man, some people can do that, but it's not scalable. It's really not, because there is so, especially when the market has shifted the way that it has, man, you can't look at a comp for 2 minutes and then come up with the best price and think that you're going to convert all of those contracts. And that was something that has really helped us out because we no longer do the single call close. Mm-hmm. And that allows me the time, to your point, Josh, to really look into these properties. Hey, let me tighten this up. Let me see what as is comps are. Let me see what the retail comps are. Okay, it just allows me to feel more confident in what we're underwriting these deals at, and that's due to that.
Yeah, man, I actually remember you pushed back a little bit on that.
I did.
2-day. And mm-hmm. you know what? I get someone every 2-day, man. It just happened. Literally, we just finished one yesterday and Monday and yesterday. And sure enough, someone was like, "What, you don't want to make an offer when you're on the phone with them?" I'm like, mm-hmm. Oh. And they're like, "Well, what if they don't answer?" I'm like, "Listen, when you understand the psychology, you understand the sales process and why we do what we do, we're blocking that. It's not even an issue, right?" Well, that's really cool, man. I'm glad to hear that even that one little change had a huge impact on the scalability of your business and really the results that you're getting at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you again, man, hopping on. You know, hopefully some people had learned some things. I appreciate the advice that you had even given, you know, to yourself 6 months ago, you know, for someone else who's in a similar situation. I love the success that you guys are having, man. And the beautiful thing is we're just getting started.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jeff. Well, I appreciate it, man. I hope that you have a great rest of your week. And thanks again for hopping on.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it, man.
Yep, not a problem. All right, everyone. I appreciate you tuning in to the Student Spotlight. Great story with Jeff. He had a lot of really cool things to share with you guys. Hopefully you were able to take one or a few things away. So tune in next week for our next Student Spotlight. We'll see you guys.